Hi everyone, Heather here with astrologywithheather.com, and I'm back with another super exciting extended 2-week forecast. And this one is for January 6th all the way through to January 20th of 2023, the entire waning phase of the upcoming lunar cycle, beginning of course with the full moon in the sign of Cancer. And oh my goodness, is this a big, beautiful full moon. It's going to be in its home sign, which is extra special, and it's providing a really positive mitigating influence for some of the more challenging experiences that we've had throughout not just 2022, the year that we're coming out of right now, but 2021 as well. And so I'm very excited to talk to you about this today. And you might notice that I'm in a different space. I'm recording this differently today. This is honestly just because I'm wrapping things up and getting ready to travel for the holidays, and I don't have time to do my normal fancy setup for this video and the edits. In my opinion, the content itself and the message I'm delivering is more important than making it fancy, if need be. So that's where we're at today, but I'm adding a couple of additional elements to hopefully keep it exciting and make it worth your while. But yeah, so this is a full moon energy. So if you go back and listen to the new moon forecast that I did for the new moon in the sign of Capricorn, this is kind of the next phase of that lunar cycle. And I'm actually going to pull up a chart for this so you can see it right there on your screen. One of the advantages of me being here, so it's a little easier for me to do things like that. And so this full moon energy, as you can see, is in the sign of Cancer, and it's in this really beautiful, really harmonious sextile with Uranus, which is in the sign of Taurus. And so we have Uranus in Taurus, which has been in an ongoing square with Saturn really since the end of 2020, start of 2021, and it's been building and building and building throughout 2021, and then in 2022 it never came fully exact, but it was still so close. And you can see here that it's finally starting to separate. We're finally going to be coming out of that energy that has been kind of plaguing a lot of the fixed signs for the past couple of years. So if you have a lot of energy in Taurus, in Scorpio, if you have a lot of planets in Leo or in Aquarius, you'll remember that this has been an extra turbulent time where maybe you've had a lot of changes going on in your life, a lot of pivots, a lot of blockages or roadblocks to the changes that you want to make, blockages and roadblocks and challenges that come up that cause you to make changes that you didn't want to make. And so we're finally leaving this energy behind. And as we move out of this energy, we have this beautiful gift of this full moon, which is showing us what we need to do in a more subtle, more gentle, more harmonious way in order to finally facilitate the change that we've been building toward and refining over the last 2 years. That's being illuminated and highlighted with this full moon energy in a beautiful way. So I love this. This is also kind of providing a mitigating influence from the ongoing conjunction between the North Node and Uranus, which is not necessarily in and of itself a bad thing, but it does create a lot of chaos. And so this has been ongoing all year long. It came exact with Mars involved in July, and that was a really chaotic energy. And we've been kind of playing that out throughout the year, especially around the time of the eclipses, which activate the North and South Node. And so this is another energy of disruption, of rapid fire change that takes us in a direction that we never dreamed of, we never thought possible, we might never have wanted to go into, but it's where our destiny is leading us. And so we have the ramifications of that Saturn-Uranus energy, we have the ramifications of the North Node Uranus energy, and this full moon is showing us like, hey, you've been through the ringer, you've made a lot of changes, you've done a lot in the past year to break yourself out of conformity, complacency, monotony, your comfort zones, and these are the results, these are the rewards that you will receive because of the work that you've put in. And so I really love this energy for a variety of reasons, but the mitigating influences that you can see here in this chart and that I just described to you are some of the biggest ones. And so Love this. And so before I get into what to focus on in your own chart, I just want to mention for those of you who are interested in learning astrology, this is your absolute last chance to get into my free astrology course that absolutely should be a paid course, but it's not. There was a lot of work that went into this. We're going to have a lot of support from our teaching assistants who are going to provide mentorship and answers to your questions. This is going to run you through all of the planets, all of the zodiac signs, and there's even a secret special bonus that might be on the houses. And so the link to enroll is down below. Classes start January 2nd, which is happening in just a couple of days. And so you want to jump on that if one of your New Year's resolutions is to learn astrology. And while I have my computer in front of me, I'm going to actually show you a very quick preview of what you're going to be getting in the Beginner's Astrology Bootcamp. And so you can see here that there are a bunch of mini lessons. So we have 22 mini lessons that'll be released over the course of 22 days. And these lessons are broken down by planet and by zodiac signs. So you're going to get a very deep overview of each of the planets and each of the zodiac signs every single day of the boot camp. You're also going to have access to the boot camp all the way through to January 31st, so you can watch and rewatch the videos after they've been released. And if you sign up for the Cosmic Academy of Astrology during our early enrollment in January, you'll have unlimited access to the Beginner's Astrology Bootcamp forever. The bootcamp also comes with a student forum that's already super active and just full of people who are introducing themselves and asking questions even before the classes have begun. All of our teaching assistants, we have 4 of them, are in the forum and will help you get your questions, your most pressing astrology questions, especially about the signs, planets, houses, and how to put these things together, answered for you. And of course, there's that bonus that I'm not going to show you yet because that is a secret bonus that you'll have to wait for. So that's what's going on there. But yeah, so join in. Link is below. I just wanted to kind of show you guys a little overview of what you'd be getting there, and kind of what the lessons look like. Each lesson has a video. It also has journaling prompts and questions that go along with it to help you integrate what you've learned. And so there's a lot here. And so kind of getting back into the energy of the full moon in Cancer and what's coming up in the next 2 weeks, what to look for in your chart. That's kind of where I want to start here. So for those of you who want to get a more detailed overview of what's going on for the next 2 weeks, you're going to, of course, want to listen to your sun sign, your moon sign, and your rising sign to get a more holistic overview of the energy for the 2 weeks ahead. Rising sign is most predominant if that's something that you have access to with your birth time. But in addition to that, make sure you download my Astrology 101 PDF guide and go through these different areas that I'm going to be mentioning here. And so first and foremost, of course, because this is a full moon in Cancer, you want to look for where Cancer is in your chart. So which house is occupied by Cancer and what topics are assigned to that house. Those topics will be illuminated for the next couple of weeks, and especially around the time of the full moon, which we'll talk about in the forecast for all 12 signs. You also want to look at where Capricorn is and which house is occupied by Capricorn in your birth chart. And so all of that information is in the PDF guide. You also want to look to see if you have planets in Cancer or Capricorn, because these planets are going to be highlighted in a big way, and they're going to be subject to culmination, like energy of rebalancing, culmination, things being brought out into the open, and change being facilitated in a positive light at the time of this full moon. You also want to look for cardinal energy in Aries and Libra. So if you have planets in the sign of Aries or planets in the sign of Libra, you want to check in the guide what those planets are signifying. You also want to check in the guide which planets are in Cancer and in Capricorn and what the general significations of those planets are, because those topics, those themes are going to be subject to, especially in Aries and in Libra, some sort of challenge that's brought to a boiling point. And so you're going to have to take action on something in involving those planetary energies. Finally, you really want to look for planets that are in Taurus, Scorpio, and also Cancer, which we talked about. That's going to be more of a positive energy, especially in Taurus and Scorpio. These are areas that have been plagued by challenge, that have been plagued by upheaval, that have been subject to major transformations, major energies and influences that turn our lives upside down. And so if you have planets in those areas that have been hit hard in the past couple of years, this is your outlet. This is your saving grace. This is where you see the benefits of what you've put in and all of the potentially the hardship that you've been through. You can see, hey, maybe this is leading somewhere. Maybe this is for my greatest good, for my benefit somehow. And so this is something to look for as well. Look at the significations for those planets in the Astrology 101 PDF guide. Also look what houses are ruled by those planets through sign rulership. That's in the guide, and the topics associated with those planets, because that's also subject to positive change. And so there is my rundown of what to look for in your own chart. And so kind of getting into the main events for the next couple of weeks, it's mostly a couple of really predominant planetary stations. And so the first one is, of course, that Mars is stationing to go direct on January 12th. I did a full forecast for Mars in retrograde. Check that out somewhere up here after you're done watching this video. So that way you can make sure that you understand what this Mars station is really going to bring for you. I'm not going to cover that again in this video just because we've already gone through it in such detail there. But that is happening on January 12th. And that's something that you need to make note of, because that Mars energy is very intense, and it's going to bring things to a boiling point, to a head, where you finally will have the momentum to speak your piece, to move things forward, to do what you need to do. And it could also cause some conflict, because it is Mars. It's the planet of conflict, war, battles. It is a malefic in traditional astrology, which means that it does have the ability to bring challenge. So that's part of this as well. So just kind of keep that in mind, that yes, this full moon is actually really beautiful, but there is that Mars component shortly after the full moon. And it's still really prevalent at the time of the full moon because it's slowing down to station. And so we're going to feel that martial energy much more strongly than we normally do. People might be feeling amped up. They might be feeling enraged. They might be feeling really ambitious and motivated in ways that they normally are not. And so people are going to be taking some interesting actions, I would say, at the start of this new year. Mercury, of course, will be stationing to go direct in Capricorn. I covered the full Mercury retrograde in my last video, where we talked about the new moon and the Mercury retrograde. Check that out for the full overview on that, because I'm not going to cover that again in this video. But it is really important, because Mercury is going to station to go direct. It's going to station in trine with Uranus in the North Node. And so that's actually a beautiful energy that comes at the end of this particular lunar cycle during this waning phase. The final thing that goes on too, though, it's like Mercury stationing to go direct in a really positive alignment on the same day that the sun will come into its exact alignment with Pluto. And so we'll have a Sun-Pluto conjunction on the 18th. That can be a lot of intensity. It might be positive, it might be negative. It really depends on how that shows up in your own chart. So if you have like a lot of malefic energy, let's say in the cardinal signs that we talked about, like you have Mars and Saturn in one of the cardinal signs, then this could be a time of hardship, a time of extreme challenge, a time of extreme psychological intensity. But it doesn't necessarily have to be. It can be really positive. So let's say you have a lot of energy in the earth signs, like in Taurus or in Virgo. This could actually be you getting that internal motivation or momentum going, digging deep and figuring out what you truly need, want, and desire, and allowing that to propel you forward into something. So it has good and bad, but this is definitely a power and control issue. This is definitely an empowering transit for some, and it's definitely a lot of intensity. So we have a couple of events here that amp up the intensity and those sensations of like pressure and needing to push forward with things, needing to say something, needing to do something. It's a pressurized energy, and it's a lot of really positive momentum. I believe all planets should be direct after that for at least a little while. So there's going to be some momentum, and we'll talk about that especially when we get into the next forecast for the full moon in Aquarius in 2 weeks, which we'll talk about a little bit at the end of this video. Stick around for that if you're interested, and that will be kind of a focal point for that video. So all right, that's what's going on there. And so without further ado, let's get into the forecast for all 12 signs, beginning, of course, with Aries and Aries rising. And that is the chart that I have up here. So something that I'm trying out in this video, because it's easier to do so. I don't know where to point. It's like backwards, is putting up this chart here. So this is the chart for like a sunrise chart for the Aries sun people, a moonrise chart for the Aries moon people, or a rising sign chart for the Aries rising people. And so this is kind of where the planets will be literally in your chart. And this is what I look at in my own badly drawn, hand-drawn chart, where I put the main events each week as I'm going through and doing your forecasts. And so you can see this up here for those who are a little bit more well-versed. So for Aries and for Aries rising, this full moon is happening in your 4th house, which is the house of home, family, property, real estate. This is the house where things are going to be culminating. And so for you, the culmination point, the thing that's being illuminated by the full moon or highlighted by the full moon is family and family connection and your roots and your home and your living situation. There could be something that comes to fruition in these areas that's been building for a while, especially if it's in relationship to money and resources, because you can see here we have Uranus, the north node in the 2nd house, the south node in the 8th. So it's kind of like there's been some sort of stalling out or some sort of difficulty when it comes to finances involving family or home or property, where all of a sudden something moves forward, or you're finally able to overcome the challenges, or you can see the benefits of the challenges and hardships that blocked you or forced you to change things. And now you're ready to move things forward. There's also a shift here from focusing too much on what you're doing out in the world. There's been a lot of Capricorn energy in your 10th house. And so this is an energy of really intense focus and refocus, like refocusing your attention on career and public reputation. We talked about this in the last video, where there's something that is being initiated here, but there's also something that you're reinitiating or bringing back into the mix here. And there's been a lot of energy there. This is a rebalancing where it could literally just be that you need to rest or focus more time on your home life, your family life, what's going on behind the scenes. Even though it was the holidays, you might have been busy out in the world or busy creating or cultivating and setting your intentions for big goals and plans for the impact that you make on the world. It doesn't have to necessarily do with career. And now it's time to think about, what do you want to come home to after work, or what do you want to your personal life to look like behind the scenes? And that's a lot of what you'll be seeing here. Oops. I'm like moving stuff around all weird. Okay, and for Taurus rising. So for Taurus, this energy is cultivating in your 3rd house, which is the house of siblings, extended family members, short distance travel. It's also the house of not higher education. That's where you've been focusing maybe a little bit more, but day-to-day kind of knowledge and knowledge that you can use in your everyday experience. It's the house of like reading, writing, arithmetic, certificate programs, smaller chunks of information that you can use in a more practical sense. And so this could be the culmination of maybe you being issued some sort of certification that you've been working toward. This could be the culmination of some sort of paperwork that comes through for you. It's like a bureaucratic sort of energy in the 3rd house. It does have to do with paperwork and things like that too. So there could be like a contract or some sort of paperwork, especially with that configuration to the north and south node in the 1st house and the 7th house of contracts that comes through, or that you're able to finally move forward with or create around this time. This is also a great time for a short trip or something to reach its culmination point involving a vehicle or a method or modality of travel. And so those are all things that you can think about here. There might have been a lot of travel where you've been traveling for the holidays, or you've been focusing more on the world at large because of that stellium, that energy that's been going on in the sign of Capricorn for the past few weeks that we talked about in the last forecast, where you've been focusing more on bigger picture ideas, your perspective on the world, your beliefs, your ideologies. It could even been like a more religious focus through the holidays if that's something that's applicable to you. And so this is an energy where it's kind of shifting, or it's causing you to have to bring things back down to a more simplistic form, or it's causing you to have to focus more on your community, your neighborhood, and your immediate environment instead of focusing so externally on other cultures, on travel, on things of that nature. So it's kind of like a shift. And this is also a really great time where there could be a culmination point of an education program or an educational pursuit where finally you're able to enroll in the program. Finally, you're able to move things forward with creating or launching your own program, teaching something, sharing something, taking bigger picture wisdom from that ninth house and bringing it down to a more simplistic form that's easily digestible for the masses. So kind of like taking bigger concepts and breaking them down in a podcast or in social media, a blog, something along those lines. So this is also a really great time for communication in relationships, especially if that's been strained. So thinking about how you can utilize that in some way. And if you've been making a lot of changes in your life, this is kind of this energy of an outlet. And that outlet is really through your communication and connection with your community. There we go. For Gemini and Gemini rising. So for Gemini, this energy is happening in your second house, which is the house of money, finances. It's the house of acquiring and accumulating resources. And so this is a time where that might be on your mind, or something could be coming through for you financially. Finally, that's like reaching this culmination point. It could be something from an investment, from an insurance payout, through partnership with other people in finance. Whatever it is, there's this energy highlighting your finances. And I think it's a mostly positive thing for you. I don't see anything here where I'm like, oh crap. And so this is an energy where the changes you've been making behind the scenes to your work and to in general too, there's like something that you've been working on in secret or studying in secret behind the scenes. That's the energy of the North Node with Uranus. It's doing something unusual and doing it behind closed doors in secret, so other people don't necessarily know about it, but it's happening. And so you have that going on, and somehow this could be connected to a new way of creating resources that finally shows itself. It's finally illuminated, or a payout of some kind. Also balancing the need to do the practical day-to-day work with those unusual, strange things that you've been kind of doing or dabbling with behind closed doors could somehow have a payoff, again, financially. So there's a good financial energy there. And so this is about focusing a little bit less on the intangible and bringing that into the tangible as an outlet for that energy. And this is also an energy of balancing between the area of finances that come through other sources and finances that you create through your own effort and own hard work. And so that's what's going on for Gemini. And for Cancer, and for Cancer rising. So for Cancer, this is your full moon, Cancer. And so this is where you're in the spotlight. You're being highlighted in some way that could be quite significant. This could be you getting some sort of social recognition in particular for some changes you've made or something that you've branched out and done that's unusual or outside of the box. Or you could be recognized from an unusual group or in an unusual way from a group or a network or association that you're a part of because of this alignment and connection to the 11th house, which is the house of friends, group associations, people you surround yourself with by choice. It could be that you've had to let go of a lot of friendships and move into friendships that are brand new, that are different, that are not what you would normally expect yourself to enjoy or align with, but it feels fated, it feels karmic, it feels really important. And so you've branched out in that way, and maybe it was difficult at first, but now you're seeing the rewards personally and socially for branching out and opening your mind and broadening your horizons when it comes to your social connections. This is also a need to rebalance from focusing too much on the needs, wants, and desires of other people and your relationships, and focusing more on your own personal needs, wants, and desires. This is about self-care, especially in the sign of Cancer. Cancer is all about self-care. And so this is not just about nurturing your relationships. This is about figuring out how you can rebalance your energy by nurturing yourself. Maybe over the holidays you were too other focused and it got a little out of hand, and now you need to come back into your own space and do what's best for you. And so that's a big part of this energy as well. You could literally be getting some sort of recognition in some way, like social recognition, like I mentioned before, but also just being recognized for your innate talents and gifts. And usually it's a busy time when the full moon's in your sign, like everyone's kind of coming at you. In this case, I think it's going to be a good thing. There we go. And for Leo rising. So for Leo, this energy is happening in your 12th house. And so Leo is kind of a sign that likes to be front and center, likes to be out in the open, unless you have other things going on, like maybe your sun in the 12th house. And so Leo, is normally very energized, very outgoing, very out there in the world. This is a time to pull back. There's been a lot of busyness going on in your day-to-day reality, in your work, in your daily routines. It's kind of like you can't catch a break. You're always doing something for someone, or you have to be somewhere. And so this is a time for you around the time of this full moon to pull back. And the culmination for you is taking time to turn inward and reflect on everything that's been happening over the past couple of weeks over the holidays, and to take some time for rest and for reprieve. This could also be the culmination of activities or endeavors that are coming to fruition that have to do with 12th house institutions. 12th house institutions include places like hospitals, rehabilitation centers, places that are away or removed from the normal day-to-day reality of the world. This could be you dealing with something or having a culmination of something involving some sort of spiritual retreat center or some sort of retreat center in general. This could be you coming to a culmination point with something having to do with maybe like a position or a job involving one of these 12th house institutions, like hospitals, monasteries, retreat centers, things like that we've talked about just before, because this is in a sextile with the North Node and Uranus in your 10th house, which is the house of career and public reputation, which is an area where you've had a lot of change and disruption over the past couple of years. And now you're finally seeing some of the results of that in a positive way, but you're having to kind of take a step back and review and sort of reflect, as opposed to being like out there doing. And so that's a big part of this energy for Leos. And there we go. All right. And for Virgo rising. So for Virgo, this energy is happening in your 11th house. And this is a really beautiful place. So the 11th house is a house that is associated with positivity because of the way that it aligns with your ascendant and descendant. And it's also a house that's associated with our group, our tribe, the people that we surround ourselves with because we choose to do so. It can also be representative of the money that we get or that we create through our business. So if you are somebody who's an entrepreneur or a business owner, this could be the culmination point of some sort of monetary compensation, money coming in as a result of the hard work that you've been doing and kind of refining, going back and redoing and relaunching with that Mars retrograde in your 10th house. And so it could be something along those lines. It could also very literally just be some sort of public recognition for something that you've been doing, or just a very busy, happy social time. This could also be some sort of recognition or some sort of culmination that's connected to an educational pursuit or a travel pursuit or a connection with a group or a network that is overseas at a distance from a different culture, a foreign entity of some kind. And so that's something that could be coming up for you where there's been issues or difficulties in the area of foreign cultures, foreign countries, foreign travel. And now all of a sudden you're seeing rewards, you're seeing benefits, you're making the connections that you need to make. It could be that there's been a lot of change when it comes to your belief systems and ideologies. That's another thing with Uranus and the North Node. And that could have been kind of jarring or challenging to you in some way. And now you're finally meeting your tribe, your people that are more in alignment with your new value systems, your upgraded ideologies, your upgraded perspective on the world. And so that's a big thing that could happen right now. This is a great time to get out and socialize, and especially to socialize with people who are like-minded or who can help expand your mind through different perspectives that enhance your value systems in some way. So I love, love, love this energy for Virgo. So for Libra and for Libra rising, this full moon is happening in your 10th house, which is the house of career and public reputation. And so this could be a culmination point of something that has to do very literally with your career. You could be recognized for something. You could put something out there into the world finally that you've been working on behind the scenes. This could be a time also where you've been focusing way too much energy on what's going on behind the scenes, on your home, your family, property, that type of thing. Maybe you've been in the middle of a move. Maybe you've just been focusing a lot on family and what's going on behind the scenes for the holidays. Now's a time where you can refocus your energy, and you probably will need to be pulled out into the open to focus more on your career and what's going on outside in the world. It's not just career either. This could be you getting recognition from somebody in a position of power and authority, or somebody who you look up to in some way. This could be you focusing more on not just your family, but the legacy you leave behind for them after your working years and for the world at large. This is especially the case because we have this alignment here with the sextile to Uranus and the North Node in your 8th house, which is the house of like your will, right? It's the house of inheritance. It's kind of looking at those things and what you're going to leave behind physically for your heirs. And so that could be part of this too. This is also potentially a viable financial venture that comes through a career opportunity that could come up for Libras at this time. For Scorpio and for Scorpio rising. So for Scorpio, this full moon is happening in your 9th house, which is the house of travel. It's the house of adventure. It's the house of foreign cultures and foreign entities. It's the house of putting yourself out there into the world to do something really exciting. And so this could be what you're doing. Maybe you're planning travel for the new year. Maybe you're connecting with a higher educational program or pursuit like the Cosmic Academy of Astrology, which will be opening up for early enrollment in January. Maybe it's that you are teaching something that you've been learning about, that you've been maybe thinking about actually putting out there into the world for other people. Maybe this is a time where you're coming into your own very literally as a teacher. This could be you engaging in something brand new and exciting in relationship with somebody else as like an adventure. It's kind of like you and your partner have been needing to shake things up. There's been a lot of changes going on, and finally things are starting to move forward. They're starting to settle. They're starting to make more sense, and you're going to be shifting more into doing things as like a team that are new and exciting and adventurous around the time of this full moon. This is also a time to shift from the day-to-day thinking, the day-to-day communication, to bigger picture ideas and ideals, and sharing that with the world in some way. This could be a time that you meet an important teacher and connect with them, especially if it's like one-on-one because of that alignment with your 7th house. This could be a really incredible opportunity to connect with a teacher that you normally wouldn't be able to connect with, or it happens really spontaneously or in a very strange way. Okay. And then for Sagittarius and for Sagittarius rising. So for Sagittarius, this energy happens. So for Sagittarius, this is happening in your 8th house, which is the house of joint finances. It's the house of taxes. It's the house of inheritance. It's the house of insurance and insurance payouts. It's the house of your partner's resources. And so there's something that could be coming to a culmination point that balances out your financial situation, that comes through another person or through a partner in some way, or from like a tax refund or an insurance payout, or some kind of investment that pays plays out for you in some way. And so there's something going on here where you have to focus a little bit less, or you're able to focus a little bit less on the resources you're creating through your own hard work. And there's something else going on here that involves other people's money that's coming in for you or being highlighted or culminating in some way. And this could be quite positive, and this could actually help fund the changes that you want to create when it comes to your day-to-day work and experience in your work, because there's been a lot of disruption there. You've been wanting to rebel against your circumstances when it comes to your employment, especially if you're somebody who's employed by other people or who has been historically employed by other people. And it's been a very rough go when it comes to establishing some sort of routine. Now you might actually feel liberated from your old circumstances, and you're finally on the right track and on the right path. It's very different from what you thought it was going to be. And there's maybe like someone financing it or helping you in some way. This could also be the culmination of a very important psychological healing process that emanates through to the physical body because of that connection from the 6th to the 8th house. There might have been disruption to your health, to your routines that help to facilitate your health. And now there's some sort of psychological, deep emotional component that is being brought up to the surface that you're able to heal through really easily. And that could help facilitate some ease on the physical plane and in the physical body as well. And so all of those things are a potential for Sagittarius. There we go. And for Capricorn and Capricorn rising. So for Capricorn, this is happening in your 7th house, which is the house of relationships. And so this is an energy of something coming to a culmination point in the area of your connections with other people. That could be a romantic partnership. That could be your current spouse or significant other. That could be a culmination highlighting a new partnership or somebody new coming into the mix. That could be really exciting for you, especially because of the connection to Uranus in the North Node in your 5th house of sex and sexuality and sort of more romantic types of relationships that aren't necessarily long-term. This could also take a relationship like that that's been all over the place and off and on again, and it could facilitate that transition from just a fling to maybe something that's a little bit deeper, a little bit more long-term, a little bit more substantial and supportive in some way. This is also the need to rebalance your energy and your focus, because there's been a lot of focus on you. You've been focused on what you want, what you need, what you desire, how you're going to create what you want to create out in the world in the new year. And now is the time to kind of rebalance by getting an outside perspective, maybe bouncing ideas off of somebody or getting help or assistance one-on-one with somebody. Or this could be you just needing to focus more on your partner or on your connections with other people. Even if you're not in partnership, it could just be you need to focus more on your friendships. You need to focus more on cultivating those close relationships that you hold dear. And this could also be a really great time to do something exciting and new and that you really, really love, or that you will probably come to love because it's something new, right? But this is a good time to explore new things in relationships, especially things that are very outside of the box that you wouldn't normally engage with your partner. This is weird that there's a box around this one, but I'm going to run with it. Aquarius and Aquarius rising. So for Aquarius, and now it's just doing its own thing. It's got a mind of its own. So for Aquarius and for Aquarius rising, this is happening in your 6th house, which is the house of work, health, and daily routines. There is a culmination of energy here where a big work-related project, a big health-related pursuit might be coming to fruition. It might be finally bearing fruit in some way. And so you get to reap the benefits and rewards of that. This could also be a need to focus less on your internal world, your internal circumstances. There's been a lot that's been pulling you out of the daily grind, out of your day-to-day routines and activities, especially when it comes to your work, between the South Node being in your 10th house and this stellium that's been transiting Capricorn the past couple of weeks. This could be like, all right, you've rested, you've spent a lot of time regrouping, setting intentions, figuring out what you want internally, and now's a time where you need to put yourself out there and start actually doing the things to create the reality that you want to create. This could also be a really great time for you to reestablish better routines in the home and behind the scenes, behind closed doors, where things have been kind of off kilter because of that Uranus North Node energy, because of the Saturn square, where you've maybe moved a bunch of times or everything's been all over the place when it comes to your home life and your family life. And now it's time to get back into some sort of routine that feels comfortable, that feels supportive, and that is actually supportive to your health and to your well-being. And this could also be the culmination for some Aquarius people for something involving pets, or maybe getting a new pet, or the health of your pet maybe improving. Like, there's really good energy around animals and connections to animals here as well. And for Pisces, and for Pisces rising. So for Pisces, this full moon is in one of the most beautiful places that it can be. It's in your 5th house, which is the house of joy. It's the house of pleasure. It's the house of fun and play. And so this is a time for you to be playful. This is a time for you to engage in the things that you love. Do something that you truly love around the time of this full moon. This is also a very romantic house. It's a house that's associated with sex and sexuality. And so this could be a really great time in that area for you as well. This is a really great time to facilitate communication around topics that you are deeply and truly passionate about. This is also, by the way, a really great time for Pisces rising and, also sun and moon people to put something out there for the public in terms of marketing, or in terms of some sort of message, in terms of like blogging or vlogging, or creating content in some way that delivers information about something that you are truly and deeply passionate about, or that markets your business if you are an entrepreneur, because the 5th house is connected to entrepreneurship. And so this could be a really great time to put something out there for public consumption that maybe wouldn't otherwise have done so well if you put it out there a few months ago or a couple of years ago. Something you've been thinking about saying or doing that's very outside of the box, outside of the norm, that's going against the status quo, that you've been maybe afraid to speak up about. This is a time where that could actually go much better for you. And even if it's just in a personal way, like with your friends and your social networks, or, in partnership with somebody that you've been afraid to kind of speak your mind or say something about it, or, just like shock people or something like that. Or maybe you have actually said it or done it and it did shock people in the past. You might actually be able to get some people on board this time around. So I think that could be a really great energy. This is also the culmination point of something potentially, if you have children, that has to do with your children. So it could be like a pregnancy or something like that. Although I would say for a full moon, that would be a heavy, that would be a little much. But it could also be like something coming to a culmination point that's highlighting your children and your relationship with your children in some way. It could very literally be like a child that you have is being recognized for something. And that's part of this energy as well. Maybe you have to travel a short distance for that ceremony or for that award or something like that. So that way your child can shine in the way that they need to shine at this time. And so those are all things that could be potentials for Pisces. All right. And so that is my forecast, you guys, for all 12 zodiac signs. I hope you enjoyed it. And thank you so much for watching this video. I am always so, so grateful to everyone who watches my videos, everyone who likes, comments, shares these videos. I get to do something every single day that I absolutely love to do. And I don't thank you guys enough. And since we're coming into the new year here, I just want to thank you all so much for your support throughout the year in 2022. And I cannot wait to see what 2023 brings. And yeah, I'm just very excited. So thank you so much for watching. And I'll see you. I was going to say I'll see you in the next one, but I actually wanted to talk about the new moon in Aquarius. This is what happens when I'm in a different setup. So the new moon in Aquarius, before we sign off, that's happening in 2 weeks' time. That's another good one. You guys, we have such nice energy in end of January through February, and even into the very start of March before all of the planets start shifting, like Saturn and Pluto, shifting into new signs, where there's a lot of momentum and a lot of positivity. So if there's something new that you want to branch out into, if there's something that you want to be doing in the new year, you can start pretty quickly. As soon as the planets are direct, as soon as things are starting to settle, that's the time to make your move. And this new moon in Aquarius is beautiful in sextile to Jupiter and in trine with Mars for getting ambition off the ground, for cultivating a lot of momentum, a lot of excitement around what it is that you want to create. And this is like one of the most, in terms of the new moons that'll be happening over the next few months, this one has the most potential for seeding and initiating and actually following through with intentions. So use that time wisely. That's going to be on the 21st of January. And we will talk about this, of course, in great detail in 2 weeks. So make sure you subscribe to my channel so you don't miss that. And again, thank you so much for being here, for all of your support, and I will see you in the next video. Bye, everyone.